I buried my husband on a Wednesday, 3 days after he died, September 15th. The church was full. Friends, family, colleagues from his engineering days at Boeing, everyone there to say goodbye to Robert Chen, 43 years of marriage. Gone. The air was cold. Too cold. Someone had turned the air conditioning too high. I stood by the casket, alone, looking at the flowers I'd chosen, white roses, red tulips, and in the center, our wedding photo, young, smiling, Robert in his suit, me in my mother's dress. Michael had objected to that photo, said it was too personal, too old-fashioned, but it was my choice, my husband, my goodbye. The service started. I sat in the front pew, Michael beside me, my son, Robert's only child, 45 years old, wearing his father's watch, the one Robert had wanted him to have. Michael stood to give the eulogy, walked to the podium, cleared his throat. "My father was a private man," he said, voice steady, controlled. "He shared things with me that no one else knew. In his final months, we grew close, closer than we'd ever been. I listened. Something felt wrong. The words were right, but the tone. He trusted me," Michael continued, with his thoughts, his wishes, his affairs. I shifted in the pew, uncomfortable. People nodding, agreeing, mourners who didn't know, couldn't know. The eulogy ended. People stood, filed past the casket, whispered condolences, touched my shoulder, said they were sorry. The reception followed. Church basement, coffee, casseroles. Linda Martinez, my neighbor, had organized everything. She squeezed my hand. "I'm here," she said, then moved away, giving me space. I walked back to the casket, one last moment before they closed it, before they took Robert away. Michael was there, standing opposite me, looking at his father, at the flowers, at the wedding photo he'd objected to. I took a breath. "We need to talk," I said quietly. "About the house, the arrangements. There are things we need to discuss." He looked up, met my eyes, his face cold, distant. "You were always a stranger in his life," he said, loud enough for others to hear, loud enough to make people turn. "You never really knew him." The room went silent. I felt it, the shift, heads turning, whispers starting. I stood there, frozen, the words echoing in my head. Stranger, my son, at his father's funeral, in front of everyone calling me a stranger. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The floor felt unsteady, the room too bright, too loud, too many eyes. Michael turned away, walked toward the exit. People parted, let him through. No one stopped him. No one said anything to me. Linda appeared at my side. "Carol," she whispered, "are you okay?" I wasn't, but I nodded. Because what else could I do? The funeral home staff came, started clearing. Time to go, time to leave, time to let Robert go. I drove home alone, the house empty, silent. Robert's chair at the kitchen table, empty. I sat down, hands shaking. Michael's words, still echoing. Stranger. But I'd been married to Robert for 43 years. I knew him, his morning routine, his coffee preference, the way he hummed when he worked in the garden, the sound of his laugh. Didn't I? I looked around the kitchen. Everything the same, but different. Wrong. And then I remembered. Last month. Trying to call Robert, the phone ringing. No answer, calling again. Michael finally picking up. "Dad's resting," he'd said. "Don't disturb him." "I'm his wife," I'd said. "I just want to check." I said he's resting. The line went dead. I told myself it was nothing. Michael was helping, taking care of his father, being a good son. But now, sitting in the empty kitchen, Michael's words at the funeral, I wondered, what had I missed? Robert and I bought the house in 1982, a ranch-style home in the suburbs, 3 bedrooms, big backyard, good school district. We were young then, 31 and 32, just married, planning a family, Robert worked at Boeing, aerospace engineer, steady job, good benefits. He'd come home with blueprints spread across the kitchen table, explaining stress calculations and wing designs. I never fully understood it, but I loved watching him work, his concentration, his careful hands. I taught high school English, Shakespeare, creative writing, grammar that bored teenagers to tears. But some of them got it. Some of them wrote beautiful things. That made it worth it. Michael came along 2 years after we bought the house, our only child. We'd wanted more. It didn't happen. So Michael got everything, all our attention, all our hopes, all our money. He was a good kid, smart, curious, close to both of us. Little league, science fairs, family dinners every night. Normal, happy. Somewhere along the way, things changed. The business came first, tech startup. Michael's big idea. He was 40, confident. He'd spent 15 years in corporate tech, saved money, had a plan. I just need seed capital, he'd said. $25,000. I'll pay you back in a year. Robert had hesitated, but I'd said yes, because he was our son, because we believed in him. The business failed in 18 months. Then came the divorce. Michael's marriage to Sarah fell apart. Ugly, expensive, lawyers, court battles, custody fights over Emma and Jack, our grandchildren, 12 and 15 now. I need help with attorney fees, Michael had said. Just $18,000. I'll pay you back. We'd paid. Over 25 years, we'd helped Michael constantly. $52,000 for college. 4 years of in-state tuition. He wanted to focus on studies, not work part-time. $30,000 for his first house down payment, $15,000 for the wedding to Sarah, $25,000 for the tech business, $18,000 for divorce attorneys. That's $140,000. We never kept a ledger, never asked for repayment. We were investing in our son's future. That's what parents do. At least that's what we told ourselves. But after the divorce, Michael changed. Moved closer to us, rented an apartment 10 minutes away, started coming by daily. Just checking on you guys, he'd say, making sure Dad's okay. Robert's health had declined. Heart condition, medications, doctor appointments. He was 71, tired, slowing down. Michael helped. Drove Robert to appointments, picked up prescriptions, handled phone calls when Robert was resting. I should have been grateful, but something felt off, wrong. 8 months ago, Robert told me he'd added Michael to our checking account. Just for emergencies, he'd said. In case something happens to me, Michael can handle bills, keep things running. I'd felt uneasy, a knot in my stomach. Why not add me? As sole owner? I'd asked. You're already on it, Carol. This is just backup. I'd wanted to push, to argue, to say it felt wrong, but I didn't. I told myself I was being controlling, paranoid. Michael was helping, being a good son. That was my mistake, avoiding conflict, keeping the peace, choosing family harmony over my own instincts. I'd always been like that, conflict avoidant, the mediator, the one who smoothed things over, made everyone comfortable, never made waves. Robert used to joke about it. You'd rather suffer in silence than cause a scene, he'd say, gently. But he wasn't wrong. Now, sitting alone in the house after the funeral, I wondered if that flaw had cost me. Linda came by that evening, my neighbor. 15 years we'd lived next door to each other, book club friends, daily coffee companions. She'd brought a tuna casserole, my comfort food. She knew. I haven't seen you in months, she said quietly, setting the casserole on the counter. Not since spring. I'd come by. Michael would answer the door, say you and Robert were resting. I looked at her, surprised. You came by? Every week, for coffee, like we always did. She paused, uncertain. Michael said you weren't feeling well, that you needed rest. I should have pushed harder. I'm sorry. I hadn't known she'd been shut out too. It's not your fault, I said, but I wondered, how much else had I missed? The The next morning, I called Richard Chen, our financial advisor. 20 years he'd handled our accounts, retirement planning, investments. He'd known Robert well. "Carol," he said, his voice careful, "I'm so sorry for your loss. Robert was a good man." "Thank you." I hesitated. Then, "Richard, I need to ask you something. Did Robert mention anything to you? About the accounts? About Michael?" A pause. Too long. "What do you mean?" "Michael was added to our checking account 8 months ago. Did you know about that?" Another pause. "Robert called me when it happened, asked me to flag any unusual activity. I did. There were transactions that concerned me. I mentioned them to Robert." My chest tightened. "What kind of transactions?" "Large withdrawals. I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come to my office?" I told him I would. Hung up, sat at the kitchen table, Robert's chair still empty, his coffee mug in the cabinet. I couldn't pack it away yet. Outside, the garden was coming back to life. Spring. Robert had planted bulbs last fall. Tulips, red ones, my favorite. He'd been sick already, coughing, tired, but he'd planted them anyway. "For you," he'd said, "so you'll have something beautiful in the spring." He'd known he wouldn't see them. I looked at Robert's reading glasses, still on the nightstand where he'd left them, sunlight catching the lenses. 43 years of marriage. I'd thought I knew everything about him, his routines, his habits, the way he hummed when he worked, the sound of his laugh. But maybe Michael was right. Maybe I'd been a stranger, missing things that were right in front of me. Or maybe I was just beginning to see. The day after the funeral, I tried to pay the electric bill, online banking, something I'd done 100 times. Robert had shown me years ago. Simple. Click. Enter password. Pay. Except the password didn't work. I tried again, carefully. Each letter, each number, the same password we'd used for years. Access denied. I called the bank, waded through the automated menu, finally reached a person. "This is Carol Chen," I said. "I'm trying to access my checking account. The online system isn't working." "One moment, please." Typing sounds. A pause. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen. I'm showing that you're not listed as the primary account holder." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. It's been a joint account for 43 years. More typing. "I'm showing a change made in March. Michael Chen is now listed as primary. You'll need to contact him for access." "Michael is my son." "I understand. But he's the primary on the account now. I can't provide access without his authorization." I hung up, sat there, staring at the computer screen. Access denied. 8 months ago, March, when Robert had added Michael to the account. "Just for emergencies," he'd said. But he hadn't told me about making Michael primary, removing me. Or maybe he hadn't done it at all. I went to Robert's study, the room I'd avoided since he died, his desk still cluttered. Papers, folders, the reading glasses he'd worn the last few years. I needed to sort through it, eventually. Bills needed paying, documents needed organizing, but I'd been putting it off. Too painful, too final. Now I had no choice. I started with the desk drawers. Organized, labeled. That was Robert. Everything in its place. Bank statements in one folder, medical records in another, insurance papers, tax documents, and then, bottom drawer, a manila folder, tucked behind others, not labeled, just marked with Robert's handwriting. Important MC Michael Chen. I pulled it out, opened it, bank statements, the last 6 months, checking account, savings account, all with Robert's handwritten notes in the margins. March 20th, withdrawal, $15,000. Robert had circled it. Written, did not authorize. May 8th, $22,000. Circled. Note, MC no permission. July 15th, $31,000. Note, forgery. August 30th, $19,000. Note, need lawyer. My hands shook. I kept reading. There was a document, power of attorney, printed, lines for signatures. but Robert's signature line was blank, just a note in his handwriting. I never agreed to this. R. Someone had tried to get him to sign. He'd refused, kept the unsigned copy, hidden it. I sat on the floor, papers spread around me, the evidence right here, in his desk, all along. Robert had known what Michael was doing, known it was wrong, and he'd been documenting it, but he hadn't told me. Why? The phone rang. I jumped. Michael's name on the caller ID. I took a breath. Answered. Mom. His voice calm, measured. I tried to call yesterday, after the funeral. You didn't answer. I needed time. I understand. A pause. Listen, I know what I said at the funeral was harsh. I was upset, grieving. I didn't mean to hurt you. It sounded like an apology, but it wasn't. Not really. Michael, I said, I tried to access the checking account this morning. The bank says you're the primary account holder. Silence. Then, Dad asked me to handle things. He was worried about your confusion. My what? Your memory, Mom. He didn't want to upset you, but he noticed you were getting forgetful. Bills paid twice, appointments missed. He asked me to take over, to protect you. I felt cold. I'm not confused, Michael. I know you don't think you are. His voice gentle, patient, like talking to a child. That's part of it. Dad was concerned. He wanted me to help. Was I confused? Had I paid bills twice? I couldn't remember. Suddenly, I wasn't sure. Mom, I'm handling everything. The accounts, the bills. You don't need to worry. I want access to my own accounts. We can talk about that, but right now, let me take care of it, like Dad wanted. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there, phone in my hand, doubting. Was I forgetting things? Was Robert worried? Had he asked Michael to take over? But the bank statements, the notes, did not authorize. Forgery? Robert hadn't asked Michael to take over. Michael had taken over, without permission. I called Linda. She answered on the second ring. Carol, are you okay? Can you come over? I'll be there in 5 minutes. She came, sat at the kitchen table, listened while I explained. The bank, the statements, the phone call with Michael. Am I losing my memory? I asked. Did I forget things? Pay bills twice? Linda looked at me, steady. Carol, you're not confused. I've known you for 15 years. You're sharp, organized. You never forgot our book club meetings, never missed a coffee date, until Michael started saying you weren't feeling well. But what if I was forgetting things and didn't realize? Did Robert ever mention it to you? Your forgetfulness? I thought back. No, never. Then Michael's lying. Linda's voice firm, clear. I saw him at your house last spring. April, maybe. I'd stop by for coffee. Michael answered the door. Robert was in the background. He looked upset, stressed. Michael said you both needed rest. Close the door. But I saw Robert's face. He didn't look like someone who needed rest. He looked trapped. Trapped. I should have pushed, Linda said. I should have insisted on seeing you. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. But it helped. Her validation. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't confused. Michael was gaslighting me, making me doubt myself, just like he'd tried to make Robert doubt himself. I went back to Robert's study, kept searching. There had to be more. In the desk drawer, tucked under the manila folder, I found a business card. James Mitchell, estate attorney. On the back, Robert's handwriting. Call if anything happens to me, J.M. My heart pounded. An attorney. Robert had gone to an attorney without telling me. I looked at the bank statements again. The last withdrawal, August 30th, $19,000. Robert's note, need lawyer. 2 weeks later, this business card appeared in his drawer. Robert had known, had been preparing, had started to act, and then he died. September 12th. I picked up the phone, started to dial Mitchell's number. The phone rang again before I could finish. Michael. Again. I didn't answer. Outside, a car pulled up. Sat there, engine running. I looked through the window. Michael's car, in my driveway. He'd come here, to the house, right after our phone call. I watched. He didn't get out, just sat there, watching the house, waiting. My hand started shaking again. Linda appeared beside me. "Do you want me to stay?" "Yes," I said, "please." Michael's car pulled away, slowly, like a warning. I looked at the business card in my hand. James Mitchell, estate attorney. I looked at the bank statement. $47,000, withdrawn in just 3 transactions, with Robert's notes. Did not authorize. MC, no permission. Forgery? Robert had known what Michael was doing, and Robert had gotten help. Now I needed to do the same. Tomorrow I'd call James Mitchell. Tonight I'd lock the doors, double-check the windows, keep Linda close. Because Michael knew I was asking questions, and he was scared. What had Robert discovered? How far had Michael gone? And why hadn't Robert told me while he was still alive? I called James Mitchell the next morning. His secretary answered. Professional, efficient. "Mitchell and Associates. How may I help you?" "My name is Carol Chen. My husband was Robert Chen. He had your card with a note. I need to speak with Mr. Mitchell." A pause. "One moment, please." The hold music lasted 30 seconds. Then a man's voice, deep, calm. "Mrs. Chen, I'm James Mitchell. I'm very sorry for your loss. Your husband was a good man." "You knew him?" "He came to see me 3 weeks before he died. He asked me to help him, and to help you." My throat tightened. "Help me how?" "I think we should meet in person. Can you come to my office? This afternoon?" I said yes. His office was downtown, 4th floor of a professional building, glass doors, quiet reception area, the kind of place Robert would have trusted. Mitchell met me in the lobby, 62 maybe, gray suit, kind eyes. He shook my hand. "Thank you for coming," he said. Led me to a conference room, large table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city. He gestured to a chair. I sat. He sat across from me. On the table between us, a thick folder, dark blue. Robert's handwriting on the tab, "For Carol, protection." I stared at it, my hands in my lap, fingers cold. "Your husband came to me in late August," Mitchell said quietly. He was concerned about his son, about financial irregularities. He wanted to document everything to make sure you were protected. Protected from Michael? Yes. Mitchell slid the folder toward me, heavy. I could feel the weight before I even touched it. He wanted you to have this, all of it, everything he found. I opened it slowly. The first page, bank statements, our checking account, highlighted sections, Robert's handwriting in blue pen in the margins, those familiar loops, that careful script I'd seen on grocery lists and birthday cards for 43 years. Next page, emails, printed, dated, between Robert and Michael, between Michael and the bank, time-stamped. Next, legal documents, power of attorney papers, trust modifications, all with notes, all meticulously organized, page after page, tab after tab, months of work. Robert had built a case against his own son while dying. My vision blurred. I touched a yellow sticky note on one of the bank statements. Robert's handwriting, "Carol, trust yourself. Trust this. Love R." I sat there. Documents spread in front of me. Robert had known what Michael was doing, known I'd doubt myself, known I'd need proof. He'd protected me even when I couldn't protect myself. 43 years of marriage. And in his last weeks, dying, he'd done this. For me. I looked up at Mitchell. "Tell me everything." Mitchell opened a legal pad. "Your husband discovered the first irregularity in March. Michael had been added to the checking account. Your husband had agreed to that. Emergency access, he thought. But 5 days later, $15,000 was withdrawn. Your husband didn't authorize it. Michael took it? Yes, the withdrawal slip has Michael's signature. When your husband confronted him, Michael said it was a loan. He'd pay it back. Your husband believed him, gave him the benefit of the doubt. Mitchell turned pages. But it happened again. May, $22,000. July, $31,000. August, $19,000. Each time Michael promised to repay. Each time he took more. I did the math. $87,000 from that account alone. Your husband hired a handwriting expert, Mitchell continued, to compare signatures on various documents. Several were forged, power of attorney papers, trust modification forms. Your husband never signed them, but Michael tried to file them. He showed me the analysis, side by side, Robert's actual signature, the forged versions, similar but not identical. The expert's report detailed the differences. There's more, Mitchell said. Email correspondence between your husband and Michael. Your husband confronted him multiple times. He showed me the emails. Robert to Michael, August 10th. We need to talk about the account changes, the withdrawals. This needs to stop. Michael to Robert, August 10th. Dad, you're forgetting things. I'm protecting you. Protecting Mom. You don't have to worry about the finances anymore. Robert to Michael, August 12th. I'm not forgetting anything. I know exactly what you're doing. We need to discuss this face to face. Michael to Robert, August 12th. You're not thinking clearly. The medications are affecting you. Let me help. That's all I'm trying to do. Robert to Mitchell, August 15th. My son is forging documents, taking money without permission. I need legal protection. I need to make sure my wife is protected if something happens to me. I read them twice. Robert's words, clear, rational, angry, protective. Your husband also obtained medical documentation, Mitchell said. He knew Michael might claim he was mentally incompetent, declining, confused. So he went to his doctor, Dr. Patel, asked for a written statement. He handed me an affidavit, statement of Dr. Rajesh Patel, cardiologist. I treated Robert Chen for cardiac arrhythmia from January 2024 through his death in September 2024. Throughout my treatment, Mr. Chen was mentally competent. He discussed complex medical decisions rationally. He understood treatment options and risks. In August 2024, he expressed concerns to me about financial manipulation by a family member. He was lucid, articulate, and entirely capable of managing his affairs. I saw no evidence of dementia, confusion, or mental decline. Dated, signed, notarized. Your husband also saw a neurologist, Mitchell said, requested a cognitive evaluation, paid for it himself, passed every test. The neurologist's report is in the folder. Your husband was of sound mind, completely. I nodded, unable to speak. And there's testimony from your financial advisor, Richard Chen. I spoke with him, I said, after the funeral. He'd flagged suspicious activity to the bank's fraud department, multiple large withdrawals in short succession, pattern consistent with elder financial abuse. The bank started an investigation. Your husband cooperated fully. Mitchell paused, looked at me carefully. Mrs. Chen, your husband didn't just document what Michael did. He took legal action. 3 weeks before his death, he executed a codicil to his will. A codicil? An amendment? A change. He didn't rewrite the entire will. He added a section. Specific instructions about Michael. My heart pounded. What kind of instructions? Mitchell pulled out another document. Legal language, formal, but clear. Codicil to the last will and testament of Robert Chen, executed September 2nd, 2024. I, Robert Chen, being of sound mind and body, do hereby modify my will as follows. Due to financial exploitation and abuse of trust by my son, Michael Chen, I hereby remove him as beneficiary except for the sum of $50,000, to be paid only if he does not contest this codicil or any other provision of my estate. All remaining assets, including but not limited to the family home, all financial accounts, life insurance policies, retirement funds, and personal property, shall pass to my wife, Carol Chen. This codicil is executed with full knowledge of my son's actions. He has stolen from our joint accounts. He has forged legal documents. He has manipulated and gaslit both myself and my wife. I will not allow him to benefit from his abuse. I love my son, but I must protect my wife. Carol, you are strong. You are capable. Trust yourself. Our life together was real. Our love was real. Don't let him make you doubt that. Signed. Witnessed. Notarized. Legal. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Robert had known everything. Had documented everything. Had protected me legally, financially, emotionally, and he'd never told me, never warned me, never let me see how bad it was. Why? He wanted to spare you, Mitchell said softly, as if reading my mind. He said you'd blame yourself. Try to fix it. Try to save Michael. He knew you, Mrs. Chen. He knew you'd sacrifice yourself to keep the peace, so he handled it quietly, built the case. Made sure you'd have what you needed. After he was gone. The life insurance policy, Mitchell continued. $500,000. Michael had convinced your husband to change the beneficiary. To him, your husband reversed it. 2 weeks before he died, you're the sole beneficiary again. $500,000. Michael had tried to take it, would have gotten it, if Robert hadn't acted. Mrs. Chen, Mitchell said, your husband gave me very clear instructions. If anything happened to him, if Michael tried to manipulate you after his death, I was to show you this folder, help you understand, and help you fight back. I looked at the evidence. The folder, the tabs, the sticky notes, Robert's handwriting everywhere. He'd known he was dying. Known. Michael would come after me, and he'd prepared, methodically, carefully, lovingly. What do I do now? I whispered. We file to freeze Michael's access to the accounts. We present the codicil to probate court. We enforce your husband's wishes. We protect you. Michael will fight back. Yes, he will. I thought about Michael at the funeral, his cold eyes, his words. You were always a stranger. I thought about the bank account, the forged documents, the $87,000, probably more I didn't know about yet. I thought about Robert, sick, dying, sitting at his desk, building this folder, protecting me. I looked at Mitchell. Then we fight. He nodded. I'll start the paperwork today. I drove home, the folder on the passenger seat, heavy, full. At a red light, I opened it again, just to see, to make sure it was real. The wedding photo, clipped to the inside cover, young Robert, young Carol, smiling. He'd kept that photo in the evidence folder, a reminder of what we'd built, what he was protecting, our life, our love, our promise. No secrets between us, he'd said at our anniversary, but he'd kept one secret, this one, to protect me. And now I understood. He hadn't lied. He'd loved. That night, I sat in Robert's study, in his chair, the evidence folder on his desk. I could still smell his cologne faintly, still feel him in the room, the careful organization, the determined handwriting, the sticky note with his message. Trust yourself. For 43 years, I doubted myself, avoided conflict, kept the peace. But Robert hadn't seen me as weak. He'd seen me as someone worth protecting, someone who'd be strong when it mattered. This was when it mattered. Michael was my son, the boy I'd raised, the child I'd sacrificed for. But he'd stolen from us, manipulated us, tried to steal my future. Robert had given me the weapons, the evidence, the legal protection. Now I had to decide. Use them? Destroy my relationship with my son? Or let it go? Keep the peace. Stay silent. I looked at Robert's note. Trust yourself. I knew what I had to do, but knowing and doing are different things. Could I really do this? Could I use Robert's evidence to fight my own child? The folder sat there, waiting. The choice was mine. I woke up the next morning to sunlight. Bright, warm. Spring fully arrived. The evidence folder was still on Robert's desk where I'd left it, waiting. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, Robert's chair empty across from me. That familiar emptiness. But something felt different. Not lighter, not easier, just clearer. I'd spent the night thinking about the folder, the evidence, the choice, fight or forgive, confront or let go. The old Carol knew what to do. Keep the peace, avoid conflict, sacrifice herself to maintain family harmony. That had always been my way. But Robert hadn't wanted that. He'd built a case, hired a lawyer, protected me legally. He'd made the hard choice. While dying. Why? I took my coffee outside, to the garden. The tulips had opened, bright red, the ones Robert planted last October, when he was already sick, already coughing, already tired. For you, he'd said, so you'll have something beautiful in the spring. He'd known he wouldn't see them bloom, but he'd planted them anyway, for me, for this moment. I knelt in the dirt, touched the petals, soft, delicate, alive. He'd thought about this, about me standing here, alone, needing something to hold on to, something that said, life continues, what we plant matters. Even when we're gone, we protect the people we love. The spring bulbs weren't just flowers, they were a promise. I stayed there a long time, kneeling, hands in the dirt, crying. But not the helpless crying from the funeral. This was different, grief mixed with something else, understanding. I stood up, dirt on my knees, hands dusty, and I saw it clearly. Robert hadn't kept secrets from me. He'd kept me from having to make impossible choices while he was dying. He'd taken the burden himself, built the evidence quietly, so I wouldn't have to watch him confront our son, wouldn't have to choose sides, wouldn't have to carry that weight while saying goodbye. He'd loved me enough to carry it alone, and now he'd passed it to me, with all the tools I needed, all the proof, all the legal protection. The choice was still mine, but he'd made it possible. I went inside, washed my hands, changed clothes, sat in Robert's study, in his chair. The leather was worn where he'd sat for 43 years, working, reading, planning. The desk arranged just as he'd left it, pens in the holder, folders stacked neatly, the evidence folder on top. I pulled it toward me, opened it again. Our wedding photo, young, smiling. Robert in his suit, me in my mother's dress. 42 years ago, our anniversary dinner, the small Italian place we'd gone to for decades, Robert raising his wine glass, eyes crinkling. To Carol, he'd said, my partner in everything. No secrets, no lies, just us. I'd laughed. You're sentimental when you drink. I'm sentimental when I look at you. And he'd meant it. That was us. That had always been us. Open, honest, a team. But in his last months, he'd kept one secret, the biggest one. Michael's betrayal. The evidence folder. The codicil. For 43 years, I'd thought I understood what his vow meant. No secrets between us. I'd been wrong. He'd kept this secret, not to deceive me, but to protect me, to prepare me, to make sure I had what I needed when he couldn't be there anymore. That was the promise he'd really made. Not no secrets, but I'll protect you. And he'd kept it. I looked at the sticky note, his handwriting. Trust yourself. For 43 years, I'd avoided conflict, kept the peace, doubted my own instincts when they clashed with family harmony. Robert had seen that in me, known it, sometimes joked about it. You'd rather suffer in silence than cause a scene. But he hadn't seen it as weakness. If he had, he wouldn't have built this folder, wouldn't have left the choice to me. He would have handled everything himself, made Michael the villain in his will, cut him off completely. Instead, he'd given me the evidence, the legal tools, the protection, and said, "Trust yourself." He'd believed I was strong enough when it mattered, when the stakes were clear. He'd believed in me more than I believed in myself. I sat in his chair, the evidence spread across his desk, and I finally understood. Avoiding conflict wasn't always weakness. Sometimes it was choosing your battles, saving your strength for the fights that mattered. This fight mattered. Michael was my son, the boy I'd raised, the child I'd loved, the man I'd sacrificed $140,000 for. But he'd stolen from us, forged documents, manipulated his dying father, tried to steal my future, and he'd done it all while smiling, while pretending to help, while making me doubt my own sanity. Robert had documented it, fought back, protected me. Now it was my turn, not for revenge. I didn't want revenge. Revenge was too simple, too clean. I wanted justice. I wanted boundaries. I wanted my son to understand, this stops here. This stops now. And I wanted to honor Robert, the man who'd spent his last weeks building this case, who'd planted tulips he'd never see, who'd loved me enough to carry the burden alone. He'd done his part. Now I'd do mine. I picked up the phone, dialed the number on Mitchell's business card. He answered on the second ring. James Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, it's Carol Chen. Mrs. Chen, how are you? I've made my decision. My voice steady, calm, sure. I want to contest everything, file whatever we need to file, use the evidence, the codicil, all of it. A pause. Then, are you certain? Yes. This will be difficult. Your son will fight back. It may take months. It will be expensive, emotionally costly. I know. And you're prepared for that? I looked at the evidence folder, the wedding photo, the tulips through the window, Robert's empty chair. My husband prepared me, I said. Now I'm ready. Then we'll start immediately. I'll file the petition tomorrow, freeze Michael's access to the accounts, present the codicil to probate, court. We'll enforce your husband's wishes. Thank you. Mrs. Chen, your husband would be proud. I hung up, sat there, quiet, just breathing. Outside, the tulips swayed in the breeze, red, bright, alive. Robert had planted them, knowing I'd see them, knowing I'd need them, knowing they'd remind me life continues, love continues, protection continues, even when he was gone. I stood up from his chair, walked to the window, looked at the garden. The fight was just beginning. Michael would contest the codicil. He'd hire lawyers. He'd fight for the money, for the house, for everything. But I had something he didn't, something he'd never had. I had Robert's love, his preparation, his evidence, his belief in me. And I had myself, the woman he'd trusted to be strong when it mattered. I wasn't the old Carol anymore, the one who suffered in silence, who avoided conflict to keep the peace. I was the Carol Robert had seen, the one he'd protected, the one he'd believed in, and I was ready to fight. Mitchell filed the emergency petition the next day, Friday morning. By afternoon, Michael's access to the accounts was frozen. I got the call at 3 p.m. It's done, Mitchell said. He can't touch the money. The court will review the codicil next week. For the first time in weeks, I breathed easier. That relief lasted 18 hours. Saturday morning, a letter arrived. Certified mail from a law firm I didn't recognize. Benson, Kramer & Associates. Inside, a notice. Michael was contesting the codicil, claiming Robert lacked mental capacity, claiming I'd coerced him, manipulated him, that the codicil was invalid. I called Mitchell. He's fighting back. I expected that. His voice calm, steady. This is normal. We have the medical records, the witness statements, Dr. Patel's affidavit. He won't win. How long will this take? Weeks, maybe months. Discovery, depositions, possibly mediation. Months of this, of Michael fighting me, of lawyers and courts and accusations. I sat down, suddenly tired, but I'd made the choice. There was no going back now. Richard Chen called that afternoon, our financial advisor. "Carol, I heard about the petition. I want you to know I'm willing to testify, whatever you need." "Thank you, Richard. I should have acted sooner." His voice heavy, regretful. When Robert asked me to flag the activity, when I saw the patterns, I should have pushed harder, called the police, something. "You did what Robert asked." It wasn't enough. I've worked with elderly clients for 20 years. I've seen financial abuse before. I should have recognized it faster. Your case. It's changed how I handle these situations now. Extra verification steps. Red flag protocols. I won't miss the signs again. His guilt was palpable, but his support was real. "I'm going to need documentation," I said. "Transaction records, your communications with Robert, the fraud alerts you filed. I'll have everything ready by Monday." Linda stopped by that evening with more casserole, chicken and rice this time, my comfort food. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm managing." She put the casserole in the refrigerator, made tea, sat with me at the kitchen table, just present, not pushing, not demanding conversation, just there. That's what I needed. Not advice, not pity, just presence. "Linda," I said after a while, "you mentioned seeing Robert last spring when Michael wouldn't let you in. Do you remember when exactly?" She thought. "April, early April. I'd brought lemon bars, your favorite." Michael answered the door, said you were both resting, but through the doorway I saw Robert in the living room. He looked upset, stressed, not like someone who needed rest, more like someone who needed help. Did he say anything? He started to, called my name, but Michael closed the door, said he'd give you the lemon bars, but you never mentioned them. I don't think you ever got them. Michael had shut out Linda, controlled access to both me and Robert, isolated us. The pattern was becoming clearer. The following week blurred into legal procedures. Mitchell filed responses, gathered evidence, scheduled depositions. Michael's attorney, Dan Foster, smooth voice, expensive suit, pushed back on everything, questioned every document, challenged every witness. By midweek, Mitchell had subpoenaed Michael's financial records, bank statements, credit cards, investment accounts. "We need to establish his motive," Mitchell explained. "Show he was in financial distress, desperate." The records came back Thursday. Michael was $80,000 in debt. Credit cards maxed out. His apartment 3 months behind on rent. Liens filed against him. But there was something else. Something worse. Online trading accounts, day trading, options, cryptocurrency, high-risk investments, thousands of dollars moving in and out, wins followed by bigger losses, gambling. It wasn't casinos, but it was gambling. "This is addiction behavior," Mitchell said. He wasn't just stealing for expenses. He was feeding a compulsion. I felt sick. My son, addicted, desperate, drowning. But that didn't excuse what he'd done. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "Carol, it's Sarah." Sarah, Michael's ex-wife. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce 2 years ago. She'd been polite but distant, protective of Emma and Jack, wanting to shield them from family drama. "Sarah, hi. I heard about the legal proceedings. Through Emma, she mentioned it." I closed my eyes. The kids knew, of course they did. Michael would have told them his version. Poor Michael being attacked by his cruel mother. "I need to talk to you," Sarah said. "In person. Can we meet? For coffee?" "When?" "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., the cafe on Maple Street?" I agreed. That night, I barely slept. What did Sarah want? To defend Michael? To ask me to drop the case? To protect her children from their grandmother's cruelty? I met her at the cafe. She was waiting outside, nervous, thin. She'd lost weight since I'd last seen her. We ordered coffee. sat at a corner table, away from others. "Carol, I need to tell you something," Sarah said. "Something I should have told you years ago." I waited. "Michael did this to my mother." My stomach dropped. "What?" 3 years ago, when we were still married, my mom was 72, early dementia, mild. She was still independent, still managing, but she was vulnerable. Sarah's hands shook around her coffee cup. Michael convinced her to let him manage some investments for her. She trusted him. He was her son-in-law. Family. How much? $30,000 from her retirement savings. He said he'd double it. Smart investments. Low risk. What happened? It was gone in 6 months. The same pattern. Day trading. High-risk options. He kept saying the next trade would fix it. The next investment would recover the losses. I felt cold. Did you know? Not at first. When I found out, I confronted him. He said Mom had given it to him, that she wanted to help us, that she didn't understand what she was signing. Did she? No, she had dementia, Carol. She didn't know what she was signing. He manipulated her, took advantage of her confusion. Sarah's voice broke. When I pushed, he said I was overreacting, that Mom was fine, that I was being controlling. Gaslighting. The same tactic he'd used on me, on Robert. What did you do? I filed for divorce. I couldn't stay married to someone who'd do that, but I didn't report him. I didn't press charges. I was ashamed. I didn't want to admit I'd married someone capable of that. She looked at me, eyes wet. I should have warned you. After Robert got sick, I should have called, told you to be careful. But I thought, I hoped, maybe he'd changed. Maybe he'd learned. I was wrong. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. I stayed silent, and he did it again. To you, to Robert. We sat there. 2 women. Both betrayed by the same man, both carrying guilt we didn't deserve. When Emma told me about the court case, Sarah said, I knew I had to speak up. I can't stay silent anymore. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. About my mother, about Michael's pattern, whatever helps. He'll hate you for it. He already does. He's been telling the kids I'm poisoning them against him, that I'm vindictive, that I destroyed our family. She paused. But you know what? I'm done caring what he thinks. I'm done protecting him. She pulled out her phone, showed me photos, her mother's bank statements, Michael's signatures on the forms, the withdrawal slips. I kept everything, she said. Just in case. I'll give it all to your attorney. I took her hand. Thank you. No, thank you for doing what I couldn't, for fighting back, for showing me it's possible. We sat there. 2 survivors, building something new, not bound by Michael, but by choice, by survival. The legal process continued. Mitchell filed additional motions, presented Sarah's evidence, showed the pattern, multiple victims across 15 years. Michael's attorney tried to dismiss it, irrelevant, prejudicial, but the court allowed it. Pattern evidence, established behavior. 2 weeks after filing, Mitchell got a call, settlement offer. They want to negotiate, he told me. Michael's attorney thinks we can resolve this without a trial. They're offering you the house, full ownership, and Michael gets $200,000 from the life insurance. $200,000. More than he'd stolen, but less than a court fight would cost in legal fees and time. The old Carol would have said yes. Avoid conflict, end the fight, take what was offered and move on. I looked at Robert's evidence folder on my desk, the sticky note. Trust yourself. No, I said. My husband didn't want me to compromise. That's why he documented everything. We'll see them in mediation. Are you sure? A trial could take 6 months, cost tens of thousands, and you might not win. I have Robert's codicil, his medical records, his attorney's testimony. The evidence is clear. Michael could claim duress, manipulation. He could say Robert was angry, not thinking clearly. Then we'll prove he was thinking clearly. We have, Dr. Patel. We have the bank fraud investigation. We have Sarah's testimony showing pattern behavior. Mitchell was quiet, then, okay, I'll reject the offer. We'll proceed to mediation. If that fails, trial. I hung up, hands shaking, but certain. No compromise. No settlement that gave Michael more than the codicil allowed. Robert had made his wishes clear. I'd honor them. That night, I laid out clothes for mediation, blue dress, Robert's favorite. He'd always said it brought out my eyes. I'll wear it for both of us, I said to the empty room. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. You're brave. Thank you for doing what I couldn't. Another text. From Linda. Coffee tomorrow before mediation? I'll be there. Support. Not from a crowd, not from a community, but from individuals. People who'd seen Michael's manipulation, who believed me, who stood with me. That was enough. 11 p.m. I was preparing for bed when I heard it. The front door handle, turning, slowly. I froze, listening. The handle moved again, someone testing it, trying it. I grabbed my phone, called 911. Someone's trying my door, I whispered. I'm alone. I'm scared. The dispatcher stayed on the line. Police were coming. 5 minutes. I watched through the window, a figure in the dark, walking away from the door, down the driveway into a car parked on the street, Michael's car. I recognized it even in the dark. The police arrived, took a report, checked the property. The door handle had scratches, fresh. Someone had tried to force it. We'll increase patrols, the officer said. Do you have somewhere else you can stay tonight? I'll be fine. But I wasn't fine. I was scared. Michael was desperate, cornered, and desperate people do dangerous things. I called Linda. She came over, stayed the night, slept on the couch, just in case. Tomorrow was mediation, the confrontation, the evidence presentation. Michael would have to face what he'd done. I had Robert's protection, Mitchell's expertise, Sarah's testimony, Linda's support. But most of all, I had the truth. And the truth, Robert used to say, has a way of winning. Eventually. I woke up at 6, showered, put on the blue dress, Robert's favorite. Linda came over at 7, made coffee, sat with me while I went over Mitchell's notes one more time. You ready? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. We drove to Mitchell's office, downtown, 4th floor, the same conference room where he'd shown me the evidence folder. 3 weeks ago, a lifetime ago. Mitchell was waiting. Good morning, Mrs. Chen, Linda. He nodded to both of us, professional, calm. The mediator will arrive at 9. Michael and his attorney should be here by 8:45. We'll review the process one more time. He led us to the conference room, large table, 12 chairs, windows overlooking the city, professional, formal, safe. Patricia Romano arrived first, the mediator, late 50s, gray suit, reading glasses on a chain. She'd done this hundreds of times, family disputes, money, betrayal. She'd seen it all. She shook my hand. Mrs. Chen, I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. Thank you. I want you to know, my role is neutral. I'm here to facilitate, to help both parties reach an agreement, but I won't pressure you to accept anything you're not comfortable with. I nodded. 8:45, Michael arrived, with his attorney, Dan Foster, 40-something, expensive suit, smooth voice, the kind of lawyer who made a living on family conflicts. Michael wouldn't look at me. Sat on the opposite side of the table, hands folded, face carefully blank. But I saw it. The tension, the fear. He was scared. Good. Patricia opened her folder. We're here to address the estate dispute regarding Robert Chen, allegations of financial exploitation by Michael Chen, and the validity of a codicil executed 3 weeks before Mr. Chen's death. Let's begin with opening statements. Mitchell stood. Patricia. Members present. I'm James Mitchell, representing Carol Chen. We're here because Michael Chen systematically stole from his parents, $87,000 from their checking account. He forged documents, manipulated his dying father, and tried to steal $500,000 in life insurance. We have extensive documentation, witness testimony, and a legal codicil that clearly states Robert Chen's wishes. Michael Chen should receive $50,000, nothing more, as his father intended. Dan Foster stood. My client disputes these allegations. Robert Chen was elderly, sick, on multiple medications. His judgment was impaired. The codicil was executed under duress. Michael Chen was helping his parents, managing their finances because they couldn't. Any withdrawals were authorized. Any documents were signed willingly. This is a misunderstanding, not theft. Patricia made notes. Thank you. Let's move to evidence presentation. Mr. Mitchell? Mitchell pulled out the evidence folder, Robert's folder, the one marked for Carol, protection. He opened it, methodically, document by document. March 15th, Michael Chen added to joint, checking account. Robert Chen agreed, emergency access, reasonable. He laid the bank statement on the table, large, clear, highlighted. March 20th, 5 days later, $15,000 withdrawn. Robert Chen did not authorize it. Another document, Robert's handwritten note, circled, did not authorize. May 8th, $22,000. Again, no authorization. July 15th, $31,000. August 30th, $19,000. Each statement, each note, stacking up, visual, undeniable. Total, $87,000 from one account alone. Michael's face was pale. Dan Foster whispered urgently to him. We have handwriting analysis, Mitchell continued. Power of attorney documents, trust modifications, all forged. Robert Chen never signed them. He showed the comparison, side by side, real signature, forged signature, the expert's report. We have email correspondence, Mitchell said, between Robert Chen and his son, Robert confronting Michael multiple times. He read one email aloud, Robert's words, clear, angry. I know exactly what you're doing, Michael's response. You're not thinking clearly. The medications are affecting you. Gaslighting, in writing, documented. And we have witness testimony, Mitchell said, from professionals who worked with Robert Chen, who can attest to his mental capacity, his awareness, his competence. He gestured to Richard Chen, our financial advisor, sitting at the end of the table. Mr. Chen, please state your relationship to the family. Richard cleared his throat. I've been the Chen's financial advisor for 20 years. I managed their retirement accounts, investments, estate planning. And did Robert Chen ever express concerns to you about financial irregularities? Yes, in March. When Michael was added to the accounts, Robert called me, asked me to flag any unusual activity. Did you? Yes. The first withdrawal happened 5 days later, $15,000. I called Robert immediately, asked if he'd authorized it. What did he say? He said he did not, but he needed time to document everything before he stopped it. He was building a case. He asked me to keep flagging transactions, to send reports to the bank's fraud department. And did you? Yes, multiple reports, over 5 months. The bank started an investigation in August. Patricia made notes. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Dan Foster stood. Mr. Chen, you say you flagged these transactions, but did you call the police? Report it as theft? No. Why not? Because Robert asked me not to. He was handling it his way, through legal channels. He didn't want to involve law enforcement until he had everything documented. So you deferred to an elderly, sick man's judgment, even though you suspected theft? Richard's jaw tightened. Robert Chen was not confused. He was methodical, deliberate. I trusted his judgment. Dan Foster sat down, satisfied he'd made his point, but Mitchell wasn't done. We also have medical documentation, he said. Dr. Rajesh Patel, cardiologist, treated Robert Chen for 8 months. He's provided an affidavit. Mitchell read it aloud. Dr. Patel's statement. Robert Chen was mentally competent, lucid, rational, no dementia, no confusion, capable of complex medical decisions. Robert Chen also saw a neurologist, Mitchell continued, in August, requested a cognitive evaluation specifically to document his mental capacity. He passed every test. The report is here. He held it up. Official, stamped, dated. The bank's fraud investigator also provided a statement. The pattern of withdrawals was consistent with elder financial abuse. Michael Chen's signatures appeared on every withdrawal slip, not Robert Chen's. Patricia looked at Michael. Mr. Chen, would you like to respond? Michael looked at Dan Foster. His attorney nodded. Michael spoke, voice tight. I was trying to help. Dad asked me to handle things. He was forgetting, missing appointments, paying bills twice. Mom, too. They needed help. I felt my face get hot, but I didn't speak. Mitchell had told me, let him talk, let him dig his own hole. I took money because they owed me, Michael continued. Years of loans, college, the house, my business, my divorce. They said they'd help. They did help. I was just taking back what was mine, what they'd promised. They'd promised? Mitchell said quietly. Or you felt entitled? Michael's face flushed. They're my parents. They helped me my whole life. That's what parents do. And when they stopped helping? When your father confronted you about the forgeries? What then? He wasn't thinking clearly. The heart condition, the medications. He was paranoid, seeing things that weren't there. So you ignored him? Took more money? Forged more documents? I was protecting him, protecting both of them. By stealing $87,000? I was going to pay it back. When? Michael's voice cracked. I just needed time. The business was going to turn around. The investments. I just needed a few more months. You told your father that in May, and June, and July, and August. Each time you took more money. Each time you promised to repay. But you never did. Michael's shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of him. I thought Dad would understand. He always helped before. He did understand, I said quietly. Everyone turned to me. That's why he protected me from you. Michael looked at me then, really looked, for the first time since the funeral. Mom? No, my voice steady, firm. You don't get to call me that, not after what you did. Mitchell reached for another document, the last one, the most important one. He slid it across the table, slowly, deliberately. The codicil. Michael picked it up, started reading. His face went white. This can't be legal, he said. It's completely legal, Mitchell replied. Executed September 2nd, 3 weeks before your father's death. Witnessed by 2 independent parties. Notarized. Filed with the probate court. Michael read it again, hands shaking. He cut me off? He left you $50,000, contingent on you not contesting the will or any provision of the estate. If you contest, you get nothing. But the house, the life insurance, it's all going to your mother, as your father intended. Michael's attorney leaned over, read the codicil, whispered something. Michael shook his head, whispered back. They argued quietly. Finally, Dan Foster spoke. We'd like a recess to discuss this privately. Of course, Patricia said. 30 minutes. They left, Michael and his attorney, into another room. Mitchell turned to me. This is good. They're negotiating. He knows he can't win. Linda squeezed my hand. You're doing great. I nodded, but I felt tired. So tired. 30 minutes later, they returned. Michael's eyes were red. He'd been crying. He sat down, looked at me. Really looked. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. I know I don't deserve to say that, but I am. The gambling, it got out of control. Started small, day trading, then options, crypto. I kept thinking the next trade would fix everything, that I'd make it back, Make you proud. You should have asked for help, I said quietly. Not stolen from us. I know. I was ashamed, desperate. I told myself it wasn't stealing, that it was my inheritance anyway, eventually, that you wouldn't miss it. We missed it. Your father noticed immediately. I know. I kept thinking I'd pay it back before he really understood, but he was too smart, too careful. And then it was too late. He looked at the codicil. He was protecting you from me, from what I'd become. Yes. Can I still see Emma and Jack, my kids? I looked at Mitchell. He nodded slightly. That's between you and Sarah, I said. Not me. I'm not keeping you from your children, but I am protecting myself and honoring your father. Michael nodded, defeated, broken. We accept the terms of the codicil, Dan Foster said. $50,000 to Michael Chen, the rest to Carol Chen. No contest, no further legal action. Patricia made notes. Both parties agree? Yes, Mitchell said. Yes, Dan Foster said. Then let's prepare the settlement documents. It took an hour. Paperwork, signatures, legal language, binding agreements. Michael signed, pen scratching paper, final, I signed, hand steady. Patricia collected the documents. This concludes the mediation. The settlement will be filed with the court. Congratulations on reaching an agreement. She left. Dan Foster left. Richard left. Michael stood. Looked at me one last time. I really am sorry, Mom. I didn't respond. Didn't know what to say. He left. Linda hugged me. It's over. Mitchell gathered the papers. I'll file these today. The accounts will be transferred within 2 weeks. The house deed will be updated. Everything will be in your name only. Thank you. Your husband would be proud. I nodded, unable to speak. We left the office, walked to the parking garage, got in Linda's car. I sat there, quiet, processing. When Michael signed the settlement, I didn't feel triumphant, just tired. Sad for the son I'd raised, sad for the man he'd become, grateful for the husband I'd lost, the husband who'd seen this coming, who'd protected me. Robert had been right about everything, and I'd honored him, used his evidence, fought the fight he'd prepared me for. It was over, but grief never really ends. It just changes shape. I'd lost my husband, and now, in a different way, I'd lost my son too. But I'd kept my home, my independence, my future. That had to be enough. The settlement was clear. Michael had 30 days to return $73,000, everything recoverable from the accounts. The rest, spent, gone. But $73,000 was something. Mitchell set up a payment plan, garnishment from Michael's wages, $1,500 a month. It would take years, but it would happen. The life insurance came through, $500,000. Robert's beneficiary designation had been changed back to me in that secret codicil. Michael got nothing. The restraining order was signed. Michael couldn't come within 500 feet of my house, couldn't call, couldn't email. If he violated it, jail time. I changed the locks. Mitchell recommended a security system. I installed cameras, front door, back door, driveway. It felt paranoid. It felt necessary. The bank reversed the fraudulent transactions, removed the marks on my credit report, flagged Michael's accounts for suspicious activity. Richard helped me open new accounts, new bank, my name only, passwords only I knew, security questions about our marriage, things Michael could never answer. You're protected now, Richard said. This can't happen again. Michael moved out of state, lost his apartment when the garnishment started. His credit cards were declined. The paper trail followed him. Banks flagged his applications. He'd burned bridges he couldn't rebuild. Linda came by every Thursday morning, coffee at my kitchen table, the ritual we'd had before Robert got sick, before Michael shut her out. You doing okay? She asked. Every week. I'm doing, I said. Every week. And I meant it. She told me about her mother years ago. Elderly financial abuse by a contractor, drain cleaning scam, $5,000. Linda had missed the signs then. Never again, she said. I watch now, we all do. We check on each other. The book club resumed at my house. First meeting in 8 months. Linda brought wine. Sarah brought dessert. 4 other women I hadn't seen since Robert got sick. We're here now, Linda said, squeezing my hand. You don't go through anything alone again. Richard came with a new financial plan, a trust, protected, ironclad. Robert left instructions, he said, opening his laptop. He wanted you secure, not just now, but for the rest of your life. The trust couldn't be touched by anyone, ever. Medical expenses, housing, living costs, all protected. I should have acted sooner, Richard said quietly. When I saw the red flags with Michael. When Robert asked me to flag the transactions, I thought it was family business. I was wrong. He created a new protocol for his practice, elderly client protections, extra verification steps, red flag training for his staff. Your case taught me, he said. I won't miss the signs again. He didn't charge me for the trust setup. Robert was my friend, he said. This is what friends do. Mitchell updated my will. Medical directive. Power of attorney to my niece Jennifer. Someone I trusted absolutely. No one touches this but you, he said. And if anyone tries, they deal with me. He didn't charge full rate. Robert was thorough, he said. Best prepared client I've had. Protecting you was the easiest case I've worked. But I knew the truth. Robert had built the evidence. Mitchell had executed it perfectly. The trust was comprehensive, everything protected. The house stayed in my name, but with transfer on death designation to Jennifer. No probate, no contests. Robert's pension continued. Social Security, investment accounts, all in the trust now, managed by Richard. Distributions only I could authorize. And the grandchildren, Emma and Jack, Michael's kids. I set up education trusts for them. $50,000 each, irrevocable. Michael couldn't touch it. When they turned 18, college tuition paid, directly to schools, no cash, no chance for Michael to intercept. Your husband wanted them protected too, Mitchell said. The codicil, mention them. Don't punish my grandchildren for their father's choices. I hadn't. I wrote to them. Birthday cards, Christmas gifts, supervised visits when Sarah allowed it. They were innocent. They deserved better than Michael had given them. Robert would have wanted that. Sarah and I met for coffee weekly. Odd friendship. Bonded by survival. Michael called me, she said one afternoon, from his new place, asked if I'd help him. What did you say? I said no. She stirred her coffee. First time I've ever been able to say no to him and mean it. Knowing you stood up to him, it helped me stand up too. She was starting support groups, financial abuse survivors, workshops at senior centers. You showed me it's possible, she said, to fight back, to win. We were family now, not by marriage, by choice, by survival. 3 months after the settlement, a letter arrived from Michael, forwarded through Mitchell's office. No return address. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won. I opened it. Mom, I know I don't deserve to write this. I don't expect you to read it, but I need to say I'm sorry. The gambling started after the divorce. I kept thinking the next bet would fix everything. Then it was loans. Then it was Dad's accounts. I told myself I'd pay it back. I see now what I did. I destroyed our family. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm getting help. Real help this time. Gamblers Anonymous, therapy. I'm trying. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Michael. I read it twice, looking for manipulation, for the angle. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe he meant it. I didn't write back, but I didn't throw it away either. I put it in Robert's study, in the evidence folder, part of the story, not the ending. Spring had fully arrived. The tulips Robert planted were fading. Time to plant summer flowers. I bought marigolds, zinnias, and roses, red and white, together. Red for me, white for Robert. I dug in the dirt where he'd dug last fall, planted where he'd planted, continuing the work. Some things grow, some things have to be cut away. You learn the difference. The garden would bloom all summer, into fall, things Robert would never see, but things he'd made possible. I watered the new plants, dirt under my nails, sun on my face, growing, healing, living, for both of us. That night I slept peacefully for the first time since Robert died. Locks changed, security system active, Michael's key revoked, boundaries clear, I was safe, I was protected, I was independent. Robert had given me that, his last gift, his greatest gift, and I would honor it every day for the rest of my life. 6 months later, spring turned to summer, the garden in full bloom. I'm alone now, but I'm not lonely. There's a difference. The house is mine, legally, completely. The deed transferred, my name only, no liens, no contests, no threats. The accounts are protected, the trust irrevocable. Richard manages it carefully, but the decisions are mine. The money is mine. The future is mine. Michael is somewhere in Oregon. The garnishment follows him, $1,500 a month, automatically deducted. I don't track it, Mitchell does. It's not about the money anymore, it's about accountability. The restraining order stands, 500 feet, no contact. He's followed it, 6 months. No calls, no letters since that first one, no attempts. Maybe he's really getting help. Maybe he's just moved on. Either way, I'm safe. Some days are hard. I miss Robert. Every day, the way he hummed when he worked, the sound of his laugh, his hand in mine. I grieve what Michael and I lost, the relationship we'll never have, the son I raised, the man he became. But I'm here. I'm standing. I'm managing. Linda comes every Thursday, coffee at 9, the ritual we had before. We talk, or we don't. Just presence. Book club twice a month. 6 women. We read mysteries mostly, make terrible guesses about who did it, laugh. Community. Small. Chosen. Mine. The kind Robert would have wanted for me. Sarah and I meet monthly. She's leading those support groups now. Financial abuse survivors, elder protection workshops, sharing her story and mine. You started this, she tells me. You showed people it's possible. I don't know about that. I just did what I had to do, what Robert prepared me to do. Emma and Jack came by last month. Sarah's idea, supervised visit. Awkward at first. They're teenagers, 15 and 17 now. Taller, quieter. Grandma, Emma said, Dad told us things about the court case, about the money. I waited, not sure what she'd say. I'm glad you fought back, she said. He wasn't honest with us either, about a lot of things. We see that now. Jack nodded. Mom explained what Dad did. To you, to Grandpa. Your father is sick, I said carefully. Addiction. It makes people do things they wouldn't normally do, but it doesn't excuse it. We know, Emma said. We're glad you're okay, that you kept the house, that you're here. We had lunch, sandwiches, lemonade. They looked at Robert's photos on the mantel, asked about him, about our life together, about the engineering, the garden, normal things, rebuilding things. They left with promises to visit again. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the door is open. The trust funds are waiting. They'll have college. They'll have choices. That's what Robert would have wanted. I volunteer now, twice a week, senior center downtown, financial literacy workshops. I tell my story, carefully, protecting details, but sharing the pattern. How to recognize manipulation, how to protect yourself, how to trust your instincts when someone makes you doubt them. The workshops fill up. 20 people, sometimes 30, older adults, their adult children, people who've seen the signs, people who are scared. What if it's my son? One woman asked last week. 74, shaking hands. What if he's taking money and I'm too afraid to check? Check, I said. Fear won't protect you. Information will. After the workshop, she came up to me. Thank you, she said. I'm calling my bank tomorrow. That's why I do it. Not for revenge, not for attention, but because Robert's evidence folder shouldn't be the only one. Because documentation protects. Because silence helps abusers. If you're reading this, if you're going through something similar, manipulation by family, elder abuse, betrayal when you were vulnerable and grieving, I want you to know it's not your fault. You're not confused. You're not paranoid. You're not overreacting. Trust yourself. Trust what you see. Trust what you feel. Document everything. Bank statements, emails, conversations, dates, amounts. Keep copies somewhere safe. Talk to professionals, lawyers, financial advisors, police if necessary. Don't face it alone. And know that fighting back doesn't make you cruel. Setting boundaries doesn't make you heartless. Protecting yourself is not betraying your family. It's honoring yourself. Robert used to say, love people, but trust documents. I didn't understand then. I thought love meant trusting blindly, sacrificing endlessly, never questioning. I was wrong. Love means protecting, preparing, being honest, even when it's hard. Robert loved me enough to build that evidence folder, to document his son's betrayal, to prepare me for a fight I didn't want. That was love, real love, and I honored it by using what he gave me, by standing up, by protecting myself the way he protected me. I'm 68 years old, widowed, living alone in a house I've owned for 40 years. I'm not rich, I'm not powerful, I'm not special, but I'm here. I'm independent, I'm protected, and that's enough. Last week, I found another note, tucked in Robert's desk, behind a drawer I'd never fully emptied, his handwriting, dated the day before he went to the hospital the last time. Carol, you've got this. I always knew you did. Love, R. He'd been right. I framed it, put it on my dresser, next to our wedding photo, young Robert, young Carol, and beside it a recent photo, me in the garden, alone, but smiling, past and present, together. The garden Robert planted continues to bloom. The roses are beautiful this year, red and white, together. Every morning I make coffee, sit at the kitchen table. Robert's chair is still empty. It always will be. But I'm not waiting for him to come back. I'm living for both of us. Some days I'm tired, some days I'm sad. But every day I'm here, rebuilding. It's not the life I planned when Robert and I said our vows, but it's mine. And I'm protecting it. That has to be enough. And somehow, it is.